Old business, recreation field update. So, we talked about this 2 meetings ago, 1 meeting ago. And we did a couple of, I'll give everyone an update as to what has happened on the field in the interim. And then we have a couple of new developments. So, at the last meeting, we were talking about the driveway. The driveway had been cut through, but it had not yet been covered with stone. That since has been brought to grade. The fabric has been put down, and the stone is there, so the driveway at this point is essentially complete right at the road. We also had a motion to go out and ask a forester to look at the trees, and we contracted with Mr. Mark Tremblay, who went out and looked at all the trees throughout the property. And we have his report in front of us, that there's some white pine, some mixed oak, some cordwood, some pulpwood. Total estimated value of all the timber and cordwood and pulpwood, $46.95 on that piece of property. Cost us $200 for the estimate, and he has offered to organize the sale and clearing of that at his daily rate, $400 a day, maybe a day and a half. So he's estimating $600 in addition, so a total of $800 to yield about $3,900 profit to the town. So that was...
That's an estimate value.
It's an estimate, exactly. We won't know exactly until it's
Right.
down.
It's a better estimate than the 3 we got from the people that stayed at the Holiday Inn Express.
It could be less, it could be a little more.
Right.
My understanding is that when they do this, they usually try to do best case scenario.
Oh, I understand, but I didn't want people to think that that's the value. It's an estimate.
It's an estimate,
So it could be
yes.
more, it could be less.
Yes, yes. And we subtract from that what we have to pay him to do that, so. I think that we should go ahead and let him handle it since he's started.
I have a question though.
Yes.
He does make note that there's restrictions from the wetlands and steep slopes in the northwest portion.
Yes.
So I'm assuming that wood cannot be, or timber cannot be removed because it's under the wetlands. How does that affect the creation of the ball field?
You can get there, we can get there.
It's not, development isn't proposed in that,
I thought
for that particular reason.
That northwest corner is, yeah.
That was said last September. Okay.
This is right.
At a previous meeting, you stated that there was a possibility that the wood would be available through the DHS for people who needed firewood. I noticed in the last Foster Home Journal, they are asking again for anyone who could donate firewood. Is that gone? It will not benefit the residents at all?
No, the wood that's already been cut by the Public Works Department, those trees that are down in that area, on phase 1, we talked about making that for firewood, for the DHS. And this is predominantly phase 2, but it does include some of the big trees on the back of phase 1 that the DPW hasn't cleared yet. So I don't think there's any issues that significant. Okay, but I don't think that's significant.
Can we have further discussions on motion? Or-
Sure.
Okay. So, that being said, so if we approve this and go through and have the 5.25 acres cleared, then that land is going to stand vacant, clear, erosion, etc. For how long? Do you have a projected time frame for this ball field, Mr. Lewis?
I have, well, the next bullet you'll see is a DEM recreation acquisition. and
Yes, I saw
development
that.
plan that I'm going to discuss next.
That
So
doesn't
obviously, it
necessarily
all depends upon finance.
So do we clear before we have the finances, or do we get the finances and then clear?
I think we clear before we get the financing, because in order to get this grant that I'm gonna talk about, we need to have
It's
matching.
already?
We need to have matching. And it doesn't have, they call it matching funds,
Yes.
but it allows 100%
In
in-kind
kind,
matching
sir. Yeah.
funds.
I
So
see that.
any costs that we incur for doing the clearing, any costs that we incur for our DPW doing the work on the field, we can tally that up as our in-kind.
But what's preventing us from doing that after we get the grant? It doesn't say that you have to do your 100% prior to getting the
You
grant.
can't
You can't
prior, you
do it
can't do it
that
prior.
way.
You can't count in-kind matching
Prior
prior.
to, so
Okay.
clearing
Right.
that field would not be part of the in-kind for developing that field.
You're gonna pull the date of the grant forward.
Would forward, okay, that was my understanding, that you would have to do it. Anything I've been involved with, when it's in kind, it's after, not retroactive.
Right.
So we clear it and not grade it.
Well,
But I think we've got to continue to move forward. It's been since 2008, it's been stagnant.
I'm not sure we have to go forward at this point in time.
I'd also like to add,
I know you do.
she brings up a good point. Now, you're thinking that when they go in there and they do all this, you're gonna have a completely clear piece of land that's gonna be all ready to be stumped. That's not what you're looking at, Mr. Lewis. What you're looking at is taking the valued lumber and stuff out of it. Everything that isn't treetops, that isn't considered cordwood by a forester, are gonna be strewn around. You're gonna have small trees that are not good for anything, are gonna be all over the place. I don't think this is clear cut. This is getting valued lumber out of it, and when you're done, it's gonna look like a bomb that hit it. And if you don't wanna spend the money to immediately go in and finish clearing it, it's gonna look pretty bad.
Okay, well, I do, you don't.
Well, what I'm trying to say is,
Let's be clear about
what you got is here is gonna look like a bomb hit it. This is only halfway to clearing the land.
that. So then I can count on your support to fund the rest of it.
I don't think you get it.
Well, I am getting it. You're opposed to the field and you're trying to obstruct it.
No, listen, we saw how you twisted the stone wall on this, now let's not do that with this.
If this is cleared by this gentleman here, I mean, if it's done as he's proposed, and it leaves just that, can our town workers go in and clear the rest?
Yeah, what's gonna suffer?
So it's gonna suffer?
Yeah, what are we gonna take them away from to put them in over there to do that?
That's-
Or what you're saying is we have a lot of manpower that's unneeded.
They're doing it.
You never have enough manpower. You
And-
never have enough manpower. We could put
My
10 more people over there, we wouldn't have enough manpower to do everything that should be done.
And my
Yes.
understanding was that they did it when they time allotted.
Here's my concern. I don't wanna see this half done. I wanna know the answer to who's gonna go in there and finish clearing it and how long that's gonna take. Because I don't wanna be responsible for an eyesore that sits there for a year, year and a half, while we find time for our DPW guys to go in there and pick it out a little at a time. I wanna know, and the other thing I also asked to have put on the agenda at the last meeting was this ball field discussion action, because I'd like to
It's
see.
right there.
Okay, I'd like to see a dollar amount, what it's gonna cost to get us from point A to the finished product, whether it's phase 1 or phase 2. And again, looking at the prints that I brought last time, it all had to be cleared, because to do either phase 1 or phase 2, you have material moving that has to come from one to the other or the other back. So, we need a dollar amount of what it's gonna cost to get this project finished from beginning to end. Just like we got a dollar amount, how much lumber was in there. So, again, I'm not against moving forward, but I don't wanna see that thing half, like, little branches here and there, all the tops strewn through the woods, because we have neighbors that live on either side of it, don't wanna look at that either. Is it gonna, do we have a chipper to handle all that? We're gonna put these guys in and clear 7 acres of tops that are left there and chip through while it looks pretty disgusting. We're not doing it correctly still. This is the first point to see how much money we had there. Then we were gonna, I understood, was gonna get a number on what it was gonna cost to finish, clear it, and stump it, so it looks halfway decent. We didn't do that. We're just
I
gonna
don't
sell
recall
all
you saying
lumber.
that.
Huh?
That wasn't part of your motion.
In this
It's
Timber's
in the motion.
proposal, where it says
You did
provide-
make the motion to do this.
What they said.
You did
To
make the
go out and
motion.
get a number, that's
Go out
what
and
we
get a
done.
forester and divide
That's
your
right.
wood, and and we've got it.
And right,
So based upon your request,
We
we
got a
hired
number.
somebody, we've got a number, and he'll take care of the water. That was based on your request.
my motion was to get the number and find out how much lumber, because we had 3 people that said there was nothing in there worth any money. It was 2 of our DPW guys, and they brought a guy who was supposed to be an expert that said there's nothing in there.
Yeah.
So the point was made, the motion was made to find that untruthful and send somebody in there to verify if there was. Now we have it, that's what we got. Don't try and take it any more than it is.
Well, don't try to stop any more than should be.
Gordon,
This,
I would just like to say, we did contact Crossman to get an estimate for completion of phase 1, we just haven't gotten any numbers back.
And that's what I'm waiting for.
I think we need a plan as to when we're doing it, how much it's gonna cost along the way. I don't think we should just jump in and do this. This grant, I did look for.
I'll tell you what I'm going to tell you what I see. I'll be very candid. I'll tell you what I see. We started this in 2008. It was a unanimous approval by 5 members of the town council when this began back in 2008. It was approved at the financial town meeting. It was approved at DEM. It was approved at the planning board level unanimously. It was approved at the planning board level. But then there was an election. And after the election, when you sat on the council as president, everything stopped.
Prince didn't come in until 2012.
Prince didn't come in until 2010.
12.
2010. 2010. You can go over to the vault and you can see when they were recorded, 2010. That was when you were on the council, and nothing happened. Why did nothing happen? Because you opposed it. I know that. I know you opposed it from the very beginning.
Again, you're completely out of line. I do
I'm
not
not out
oppose
of
it.
line.
When we start a plan, we should have a clear path of how we're doing it and where we're going. We do not have that.
We do. We have an engineered plan from Crossman Engineering and a landscape architect. We have the plan. It's right here. We have DPW who was able to go over there and do the work, except for the fact that you went over to the garage and started hollering at the guys.
If it wasn't for me, we wouldn't have realized when we got $5,000 worth of lumber there.
We've got
And we had actually more than that.
$3,600 worth of lumber, Mr. Rogers. We've got $3,600. And if a $3,600 check to this town is gonna make a difference in a $12 million budget, I don't believe it. We could get just as much benefit by giving that $3,600 worth of firewood to the residents of the town. But if you wanna log it and sell it, I'm okay with that. We can give it to the people in the town, we can log it. We need to.
You have the votes, go ahead and do what you want to do.
We have a commitment to the financial town meeting. We have a commitment to the state of Rhode Island, who took $75,000. We have a commitment to the federal government because we took less of a.
So let's keep polishing the trigger. You have the votes to do it, do it.
We have to move forward.
Now, this proposal doesn't seem to me to do anything that wouldn't require additional action by the town. It talks about soliciting bids and providing a harvest contract, not Mark Tremblay actually conducting the logging himself.
That's correct.
And part of that contract could,
Comes back.
correct me if I'm wrong, actually be the clear cutting and site preparation.
As part of the grant, are we jumping on? Oh, we're talking about that.
I don't know, what did you say, we're cutting in what grade? I don't know if it will include a grade.
Well, it can include whatever we want, yeah?
Not at that price.
No, not that they would pay us to actually,
So,
but the total cost of actually clearing the land
We could come up with
could
that.
be discounted because they harvested timber. So I don't see how I think it might be worthwhile figuring out how much would it cost to put it out to bid and
That's the
actually
key
clear the
word,
land.
figuring it out.
right.
Get a plan, have it figured out before we go forward. Just cutting down all the trees and moving forward. Yes, it's been sitting there, and yes, I agree we need to do something. But you don't build a house without having plans and knowing where you're gonna get the finance and where things are gonna go. You're gonna build a field without it.
we have the
Yes,
plans.
but where are the finances, Mr. Lewis? Where are we gonna get the money?
That's
If
the
we
next-
don't get the grant.
At this
And we applied
point-
for a grant
at this
before, we did not
point-
get it.
Mrs. DeFranco, at this point, I've been working on this for 8 years, and what does it cost the taxpayers of town of Foster? Nothing.
Yes.
We
and that's
purchased
what
this land
Mr.
with a
Lewis.
$75,000 grant and $40,000 in recreation open space money. It cost the
Yes.
taxpayers nothing.
And that is one
What
of
did
those.
what did the plans cost? They were included in that. It cost the taxpayers nothing.
That's
The
very nice.
DPW workers going over there and clearing it on their time in between jobs is costing us nothing. If I can write this grant successfully, which I'm gonna ask this council for permission to go ahead and do this next, it's gonna cost the taxpayers of this town nothing. We're gonna end up in
And I
a
will support that.
recreation field
Yes,
for little to no cost to this town.
and that's
And-
what
and I
the
think-
solution, if we get the grant, but if we don't get the grant, what do we do?
Then we allow the DPW people to go in there, continue to log it, continue to level it, and the recreation committee can go raise money and build the field slowly, slowly, slowly. It moves forward. We
Fine.
don't sit back and do nothing and say, you know what, I don't think I have the money for that last thing, we're not gonna do anything. That's why it's divided into two phases, phase one and phase two. You don't have to develop everything simultaneously.
I agree.
It's also why I favor having the Swamp Meadow people located here, because it's gonna cause another stream of money to flow into that field and help to develop it.
All very
It's
good.
also why I favor having the library located over there, because that will cause another stream of money to go into that property that won't
This is
cost
the
the
first I'm hearing of the
taxpayers.
library.
It's not, we talked about it, we brought it up at the last meeting.
Now we're jumping on the library?
Mr. Lewis, but I favor it.
We can vote that in too.
Mr. Lewis,
So
please.
the police station over there too.
Mr. Lewis.
John,
Oh, come on.
in reference to what John said, if he would revise this and do what he suggested and level it and get the stumps out and everything, and if it came off of the money that came to us, it still really wouldn't cost us anything to get it to that phase, right? No? I don't know, Gordon, I'm asking.
I don't know if there's enough to.
There's not even close.
I think it's worth finding out what it would cost to clear it, what it would cost just to get the money from harvesting, and go over TPOs. We've seen what all of our options are. It seems like he's willing to do that. It's part of his proposal. That's what his proposal says, is provide a contract. I think we can specify it if people have to know, okay, how much will it cost to clear it? And
Stumping it, they usually get $2,500 to $3,000 an acre to stump it and remove the stumps, grind them on site or whatever. So that alone is $17,000, $20,000, $22,000 just to stump it, remediate the stump issue after you've cleared it. This here is just taking the valued lumber out.
Right.
It's leaving the tops there and everything else. You're gonna have to go in, you're gonna have to pull out, you're gonna have to chip it all. At that point, you're gonna have to rip the stumps out. Just getting the grade level and because you just don't level it, you have to compact it in lifts. You're talking $250,000, $125,000 just for prep site work.
Mr. Lewis, please, Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Listen, I have my conservative friends here, and Jeff, okay, Mark, Heidi, Gordon, all right? I have liberal friends here that are for this, all right? The town has to realize at some point that the town is growing up, all right? That you need a ball field at some point. You're gonna need a dog pound. It's gonna cost you $100 and something thousand for the dog pound. Mandated by the state. And for years, I've been coming to these meetings saying, what we need is a revenue source. And what I continue to hear is, not saying the planning board, saying some entity, is keep Foster rural. So I've got one group fighting growth. I've got another group fighting the way to growth. All right? And I have this constant bickering going on, and we never move forward. When Situate kicks us off their field, we don't have an alternative. And we are going to grow 25 houses a year at some point, and we better prepare for it, versus keep this crap up. And that's what this is. This is, John, make a plan. Get a number, okay? Last meeting, I said it was $7,000 worth of lumber. It turns out to be $4,000. The guy's gonna take $400 an hour or a day, all right? You're gonna end up with nothing. It's gonna cost a lot of money to do this, and we need it at some point. So can we prepare? Miss Ryder, I'm gonna just mention my friend Miss Ryder. At some point, we need industry light industry and manufacturing and warehousing to support the community's growth. All right? We don't need mom and pa's. We don't need a coffee shop next to a $9 million library. We better get realistic, and I'd really like to see everybody quit fighting.
Mrs. Ryder?
I just want to say, reiterate, the people approved this many years ago. 2008, was it?
Yes.
And we made a commitment to the DEM. There is a point when you have to start it. You have to begin. You can sit there and you can say, oh, well, the numbers are... Just start it. No guts, no glory. You'll find the money. You could ask the fire companies to burn the brush and the tops. They're looking for project, for practice, experience. You could get someone is paying a ton of money to have Black Forest Farm, the chips, all the tops and everything chipped out of there. You could have it chipped. You might actually get some more money. But for the love of God, just start it.
Would you just start a project without financially knowing where you're going?
No.
And your
You
own personal-
financially do know where you're going, and yes, I would, because if you don't, it will never,
Your own
ever
personal
get
desire?
done.
So John, you are suggesting, let me not put words in your mouth. I think that you're suggesting that we allow Mr. Tremblay to come forward to us with alternative contract proposals, one to do the logging and another one to do the logging and stumping.
That sounds fair.
Or we let him, he's got to present us with contracts. That is the next step. We send things over to him, he prepares contracts, he solicits bids, he gives us back choices, and then the council acts on those choices.
Well, actually, I've never had him do a contract before the sale was settled and the individual who was going to do it. That's when you do your contract, or my experience. And they don't stump the commission.
Right. What you do is you put this out,
They don't take everything down,
what you,
and it's a mess.
what you,
I have to agree with Gordon on that.
what you need to do is if you're gonna clear that lot, you need to put out a bid to clear that. And the guys that do that, like the ones at Black Forest, will look at this, because it's already been marked, they know what they got for value in there, and they would give you a price to go in and completely clear it. Now, you can ask, and they would chip everything, and they would clear it from one end to the other where it was marked. And that would be taking whatever you made on this off, and then what their price would be added on, you would have to pay them additionally. Now, there's a plus to offering it, some of these guys also do stumps, like the ones that are Black Forest Farm. They will do the stumps, they shot a price over there, I believe, it's $2,500 an acre, to rip them out, shear them up, and run them through the chipper and get them off site. That's an addition. But that number is on a large tract of land, but because they're so close, they may be able to just switch gears and hit this. But you can't just go ahead and do it. You need to use what you got here, put the clearing out to bid, and they use this to minus what the total cost is gonna be, because this is their profit on the stump to the appropriate places. The pulp will go to power plants, and the hardwood would go to lumber yards. And the tops, usually, they'll chip right at the same time, if you want it chipped. And all clear the small stuff, while they're in there, they'll do that. But if you just send somebody in there on this, they're just gonna take this and take the money, and pay you the $4,600 or whatever it is, and they make more when it gets delivered to the lumberyard. This is the price on the stump. So this would leave a bomb. If you went in there and said, here it is, guys, go do that, you would be left a complete mess in there, and you would drive down the value of the neighbors around the property. Because the next question is, when are we gonna clean the mess up? So he is correct. What you wanna do is price out, getting it cleared, and getting it stumped, and make a decision what you wanna do at that point. Because at that point, that phase will tell you how much it's gonna cost. And then the next question is, where are we gonna get it? So, That's what should be done. I'm not against the project. The project has to go forward correctly. And to this point, it has not until this came in front of us.
So you would be in favor of going out to bid, going out, having Mr. Tremblay solicit bids on our behalf?
Clearing and stumping the
To
entire.
clear and stump the property?
Yes.
Fine, that moves it forward.
Is that,
Listen, that's my
bids or
thing, and you keep
estimates?
twisting it, saying I'm against the project. I have never been against the project.
Then let's,
What it's gonna
then let's
cost-
work together to move it forward.
Listen, I've been trying to work together.
Okay,
is
okay.
this for a bid, an actual bid, or an estimate? Is that, I think, two different things. I wouldn't say go out to bid, I'd say go out and get estimates. Going out to bid, somebody thinks they're,
What it, again, is that, Mr. Tremblay handles that.
okay, as long as it's estimates and not bids. Because you get somebody bidding on a job,
We don't have to
somebody
act on it.
expects to.
We don't have to act on a bid.
All right.
Have to accept it.
We need to have numbers, and then with a bid, we're allowed to act on it. So I would put it out to bid. I'd ask Mr. Tremblay to try and get, and I'm sure he would. We got a couple of bids out there, so.
Need a motion, please?
Yes,
I think you already have a motion on the floor.
no,
Yes,
what's the motion?
there was a motion made, oh no, I asked if we should have a motion to have
Before
discussion, and you said no, we didn't need a motion to have discussion.
Because we would not have made an informed motion.
Okay.
John, Juliana one.
Juliana, yes?
I would just advise that whatever you go out to bid for is clearly specified, that you're looking for numbers for phase one versus phase two. Just
The whole, no, the whole lot has to be cleared first.
Listen,
there's just a small problem with, if you are not anticipating moving forward with phase two at this time, I agree that if you clear out phase two, and then you have to implement soil erosion control measures that then get stuck there for
Juliana,
God knows how long.
I went through the prints. You cannot complete phase, what did we start first, phase one or phase two?
Phase one.
You cannot complete or even start on phase one without using the material from phase two to do the lift on phase one. So the entire lot needs to be cleared, and then when you start the project of phase one, you're gonna have to take all the material from one phase and move it to the other. I don't know, looking at it now, you're either gonna have to, and I don't know who picked phase one or phase two, but the material for one side needs to be moved over to get the whole job done. So if we start the wrong phase, you're literally moving material from here to get it out of the way and putting it here to do that phase. So
And don't-
that was my whole issue. So the whole lot must be cleared, because to do either phase one or phase two, you need the material from the other side.
I don't know if Crossman agrees with that,
Well-
until we get that response from them.
I don't know either. Well, I think the easy way to handle it is bid them two separate pieces. We can do it all, we can award them both, do the whole thing together, or we can do one or the other once it's determined whether we
Might
need
it
to
be
do the whole
cheaper
thing.
if it's
While
both
they're there
phases?
to clear the whole
It
thing.
might be,
But I'm saying, if we're asking for a phase
So
one.
phase one, phase two, and complete.
Okay.
Well, I disagree. I think at this point, phase one and phase two would be the cuts and moving the dirt around. I think at this point, you should clear the whole lot and get numbers on clearing the whole lot and stumping it. Because while they're there, whether you're clearing 2.5 acres or 5 acres or 3 acres, 3.5 and 3.5, it's much cheaper to get it done while they're there. I'm telling you right now, no matter what, whether you do phase one or phase two, you're gonna need room to put things that, in an area that you don't, that you're not working on. So, it should all be cleared. It's a waste of time to go in and clear half the lot.
Make a motion to bid it
I'm
out.
not making a motion.
Well, you know exactly,
yeah,
sound like you know exactly
All
what I
right, all
want.
right. I will make the motion to have Mr. Tremblay go out and get estimates on clearing the entire lot. A price on clearing it, figuring in what he's got for value of lumber there, and also two prices. One on clearing it, removing all the lumber and the brush, and then another with additional, of course, of stumping the entire lot while they're there.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Right?
when Mr. Rogers said going out for a price, is that going out to bid? Or just, because he didn't use the word
All
bid.
right, bid, price, bid.
That's my understanding, it's a
Bid.
bid. Yes, 'cause that's what he talks about here in the letter, that he would handle
Just,
that.
it wasn't in the motion.
And he's indicated that that's. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, we'll connect with him early next week. Okay, you also have the second thing that relates to this, a letter from Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management indicating that 2016 Rhode Island Recreation Acquisition and Development Grants, they have 3 different categories of grants. You see them listed here, 1, 2, and 3. 1, large recreation land acquisition grants, that doesn't apply because we already own it. 2, large recreation development grants, things between $100,000 and $400,000. That's the one that I think fits us. And small recreation development grants up to $100,000. So I printed out the application. It's not a huge, massive application.
You were able to get it at this website?
Yes,
Well, when I went to that website today, it said error, it's been moved or removed.
no, I've got it right there.
Oh, good,
Yes.
because I was looking for it.
Got
Thank
it
you.
right here. So, I'm willing to do this. I may need a little bit of assistance from folks in the town hall just to gather some specific information. As Juliana indicated, we've already contacted Crossman Engineering, who drew the plans, to get a price. They are a general contractor, so they will know what would be a ballpark price for completing phase 1, and I'm gonna use that number as the number to write the grant. And I'm seeking the council's permission to go ahead and write this grant.
I have just one comment.
Yes,
The last time we went for a grant from DEM, it was with Anne Marie, and Anne Marie wrote the grant.
yes.
There must be some information left there, I'm not sure, that you might be able to utilize, or perhaps the planner, the current planner, would be more appropriate to write the grant.
We could find it. Well, I didn't want to throw it on her desk. I'm certainly willing to work with her, but I wanted to, as I said, not cost the town any money. I'm willing to do it myself and just get a little bit of assistance.
Make a motion that we apply for the Rhode Island Recreation Acquisition and Development Grant for the large recreation development grant, requiring a minimum of 20% match, which can be 100% in-kind services.
Second.
Discussion. Okay, the due date for this is May 27th, so there's just a couple of months, plenty of time to pull this together. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
And when I made the motion, I said someone, so it doesn't necessarily have to be you.
I understood that.
Okay.
We'll work it out. All right, thank you